the U.S. national team, just the head coach, he just said something that I thought was pretty profound in terms of like building his team. And it's not necessarily about having the 11 best players on the field at the same time. It's having the 11 right players on the field at the same time. You know what I mean? And I think that's super true with soccer and probably with every sport, that you want those 11 players that are going to form the best team. And often it's not the 11 best players in on your team, right? It might be, someone that just fits a position that needs to be played a little bit better. And that happens in the game. And I think that's a really wise decision by that coach. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the national team can do in the World Cup. And they're starting to really meld as a team. In the last couple of games, they've had really good results. And so, like, just like every team, it takes time, and they're starting to get it right. And I think there's some good leadership there, but the best teams, it might not be all the best players on that team that make the best teams,
Well, that I totally agree with that. And I think you look at sports, there's consistently debate around, and the world is notorious for always focusing on the most glamorous piece of a sport or the role. But looking at sports, the unsung hero, the one on the team that doesn't collect the stats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see different aspects of commentary and analysis around. Take like a Draymond Green with the Golden State Warriors, right? Like, his statistics never were going to jump out at you and be Hall of Fame statistics, but the consensus is that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, which I agree with what he's done in the career and the NBA titles. But he doesn't necessarily for sure fit with other teams. He fit perfectly with the guys he played with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, and the ability to distribute and pass at that position.
Yeah.
But it's not as glamorous. And so he gets talked about a lot, both with like vitriol and praise and admiration.
For sure.
Because people are trying to quantify the thing that you can't quantify in the same way, and that is the right guy in the role that isn't going to have the same accolades. And it's like a fullback in football, like a Kyle Juszczyk with the Niners that, has been throughout his career, like the versatile Swiss Army knife that is able to do everything, but his statistics are never going to be what you go look at. But none of the offense works without a guy like that.
Yeah.
And I think, it's definitely a thing that for a lot of guys, I think a message that we talk about with kids, like, do what you can do to improve the team, make your teammates better. If you're focused on that ability, whatever your natural skill set is going to probably surface instinctively. But there is because of the glamour, I think a lot of guys fight or resist their chance to insert themselves onto a team and be the role player that plays defense, or that is the guy that's going to set the table for the goal scorer or whatever that is, because they don't think that's going to get them plays. And I think there's a tremendous amount of value in guys who figure that out. For a lot of guys like yourself, you redshirt, you transfer, you play, right? You found a way to be of ultimate value in every team, regardless of how many games you're playing, how many opportunities you got. And then you have guys that burn out or fizzle out because they can't wrap their heads around not being in the exact role they have. And I think that's a hard thing for all athletes to reach. There is a point for everyone where you hit your ceiling and you are no longer the guy, the greatest, the best, the one that gets all the praise, the shots, the plays run for. Everyone has to figure out how to adapt in that. And it's, I think, a skill set that fundamentally is very, very helpful for life. Figuring out how to adapt and become of value when you aren't the star or the the one receiving the credit for it. Soccer, to me, is a sport that I find, besides the fact that there's just not enough scoring, I would like to see more goals. Even when you were in the goal, I like to yell and hope that people would score on you to give you a hard time. Yep, you know, I mean, what are friends for? What are friends for? But like, how does that play out on the soccer field, right? Like, you know, a play is developing. What is that unsung hero? What does that guy that sets the table look like on the soccer field?
I think that's a great question, and you're totally right. I coached with a guy in Sacramento, great coach, and he always called offense and defense the beauty and the beast, right? But you can kind of make that reference to the players on the field. Like, you got those players that the high profile goal scoring players, and you know, they're obviously usually attackers, maybe a midfielder that's you know, his job is to create chances. But then you have basically like an outside back or in the center backs, these guys, and like the holding midfielder. You know, there's different types of holding midfielders that'll sit right in front of the back line, and they're either like really good on the ball and they can distribute and spray the ball over the field, or they are just, you know, absolute beasts in terms of like winning the ball back, work rate, and just kind of like that glue of the team, right? They're between the 6 and the 8. So the 6 is that holding midfielder, like we number our positions. And the 8 is, so usually play with 3 midfielders. Like the 10 is the attacking midfielder, the guy that creates chances. And the 8, they call him box to box, because like the 18s are the boxes, and this guy's box to box, meaning he's got to do that run back and forth. He's got to be a part of the attack, and he's got to defend, right? So he's got to be incredibly fit, and he's got to be willing to like put the team on his back and track back 80 yards and make a tackle if he has to.
Have a work ethic and a grind that's not going to take a play off or even a sequence off.